Good evening, good evening, good evening, fine people. How are you all? Here we go again for another Palm Sunday Slots live feed. So this week I'm on the main Pallatrax page, and if you don't know, every other week I do the team page. So feel free to join Team Pallatrax. It's a really, really nice community. It's just growing and growing and growing. No hidden agenda. It's just what it is. Just a nice community there to help each other. Talk fishy tales. There's discounts available. I do plug it because I think it's really, 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 really a nice community to get involved with. There's no egos or arrogance, no stupid questions. So feel free to join. Good evening, Sue. Good evening, James. On the note of Sue. Sue, thank you very much for taking care of me whilst away and doing the live feeds. Hi, Anthony. How you doing? Steve, Brian. Hope you're all better now. Well, I'm still a bit... still a bit rough around the edges, but that won't change, will it? So thanks for that. Yeah, it's been a bit of an awful week, but there we go. Justin, how you doing, sir? Richard Ward, I've got a question from you, Richard, so we'll get round to that in a moment. Mr. Shaw, Andre all the way from Slovakia. How's it going, Andre? Neil Oliver, not long now till we're off to France, Neil. Galen all the way from Canada. Bob Frost, how you doing, Bob? So a few people popping in. So as always, there is a little kind of freebie raffle, and so this week we are going to give away. Now, what you got to do here, I think I get this right, is just send to the Pallatrax Messenger page even. Yes, if you'd like to win a whole selection of the grips. So you've got the chods, the curve shanks, the straight points, the wide gapes, and the eagle waves. Paul, good evening. Matthew Rice, congratulations for the lovely fish you caught earlier. Here's that Stephen. Oh, am I getting this all right? Oh, it's all going wrong. James. So loads of people, fantastic. It's always good. I always do enjoy these Sunday lives. It's a good way to connect, chat, talk questions, and obviously feel free as I go through. Hi Terry. Yeah, we're going to get Liquid, Neil, aren't we? I'm getting all ready for it. Got loads of bits and pieces to try out. Ryan, how you doing? Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was nice to get away, but horrible to come back to COVID. But there you go. Hey ho. Hi Bob. So just again to congratulate Matt, who helps me down here. He's my wingman at Ashton's Pools. He winkled out a beautiful, stunning mid-double fully scaled earlier. So happy days, Matt. You were well pleased, weren't you? It was a bit chilly out there. Hi Mick, how you doing? So again, if you want to, I'll just plug this throughout to have a chance of winning some of these phenomenal Grips design hooks. They are a genuine third design. You've got fisheries going across to them now. I was talking to Jez out in Thailand today. He's solely Grips. Interestingly, and I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about line as well. And talking about Thailand, this is the only line now that they use with top cats. Because it is so much different than any other fishing line. But yeah, it was a beautiful fish, wasn't it, Anthony? So we've got quite a few questions here. But before I start, I'm going to just put something in a tank so we can see how it goes. So we've got a couple of things here. I have shown one of them before, but we'll put them... Oi, Scouse in the house. How you doing, Lee? So the first thing we're doing, and I'm mucking around all the time with things from the fish farming market, from the koi market, all these things that are heavily regulated, really, really do, as they say on the tin. Hi, Carl. So the first one we've got is spirulina tablets. Can you see that? I'll show you better in a minute. So these have got algae, shrimp, spirulina, gammarus and vegetable content. So it's a real mix of good stuff. And all of these tablets as such do have basically mineral values and fish feed values. So you're talking about health of fish and things like that. So they're real amalgamated. And this is the one that I've just got in. This is totally different. This is a multi-tablet. It's very much different than the spirulina. Can you see that? That's mollusks, crustaceans, freeze-dried insects and algae in there. So why am I showing you these? Well, I'm just going to be using these, and hopefully I've now sourced them so I can get them in bulk so we can pass them on to people if people want to fish with them. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch the camera around here. Standby 1. So if we go for the spirulina, I'll put those on this side of the tank, and what we'll do is we'll just leave them for half an hour and see what goes on. So this is just, obviously these will break down water dependent, and then we'll do the multi-tablets over on this side. So how would I use these? Well, I say they're already very much regulated, so we know what's in them. Again, it's all about those ingredients. It is, folks, I promise you, the quality of your bait and what it actually will do is ultimately only and all about the ingredients. So so these have been designed not by me, far from it. They're designed by, you know, a higher science within the fish farming market, and I think, you know, like James says there, hi Tony, it's, you know, they will really be good in PVA bags. They hold together long enough where you can put them in a method mix. I suppose you can, you know, in all baiting strategies, you can add them into it. Hi Lee, how you doing, sir? So yeah, so we'll wait and see, but like I say, it's all about the ingredients. I know we're bang on about it. The trouble is, being a fishery owner, it's all about the quality of your water. If you've got good quality water, and I don't want to be putting in my water, hence why I've got my rules at Ashmansworthy Pools, not to try and get anybody caught up in the politics of it all. I just want to look after the fish. I want to look after the invertebrate, and I want to give us, the angler, the best possible quality bait. But that has always come down to the ingredients. And unfortunately, don't get me wrong, not all. There's some really, really good bait companies. Though I actually don't really think I'm a bait company. I'm always like a biomass food source. Yeah, you're right, James. James is just saying fisheries are held to much higher regulations than baits, and it's dumbfounding. And it is really, because we're talking with nature. I mean, DEFRA have now bought out, we're all meant to be animal feed registered as bait companies. Unfortunately, some don't seem to have done that. I have to question why, and that's why I can't allow other baits to come in on my waters. So just don't know what's in them. They might look nice, they might smell nice, but that's irrelevant. It's all about what they're going to do within the water. Are they food for the fish? What is the nutritional value, the protein value of these kind of things? Are they going to be harmful to the substrate life? It all goes. Hi, I'm going to get this wrong, aren't I? So is it Timotej? I do apologise. I'm sure you'll tell me how wrong I got your name there, but welcome. So, we'll leave those going, just as a few more people have joined. If you want a chance to win the complete range of grips hooks, so chods, I'll look over the top, chods, straight points, wide gape, eagle wave, and curve shanks. Should know, shouldn't I? You've developed them. So if you want to win this little bundle of 5, all you've got to do is send yes through to the Pallatrax messenger page. Hi Sims, Monks is watching. Well, I was only talking about you the other day, Mr. Monks, and saying to Tinny, he's got to come down and fish on my new lake soon. It'll be a freebie, Mark. Anybody, any idea when a hydra may be available? Oh, why ruin my evening, Ian? Unfortunately, I brought it in from the Far East. Phenomenal bait. Absolutely phenomenal. Swore by it, caught so many fish on it, but can't bring it in at the moment. It's a lot to do with Brexit, it's a lot to do with certain things that are happening in the Far East, but swear by the product. We have sourced another snail. It's a British snail. They've had some problems, to be fair, over the Christmas period, but hopefully we'll be getting that back in. And that, no, you can't enter the competition, Matthew. Never, ever. Yes, you get on down here, Mr. Monks, and hopefully it'll be wedding time as well. So, need to put counts. Yeah, they're not there, Sam. They will be very, very soon. I say I've only just sourced them in bulk. Going to work out where are they going to be a team exclusive, or because I want to keep, obviously as always, I want to keep the price right down. So, but watch your space because you're a team member. So, so what we'll do is just go ahead, and I want to talk to you about line. But before that, I want to go through some of these questions. So I've had quite a few questions, so thanks sending those through to me. Richard Ward, you've asked me about Gamma. I know a few people on the team page have said whether it can be used on smaller spools. Yes, it can. It's not just a carp line, it's for all species. I mean, actually, Gamma, they even go down and they do an ice line for ice fishing. So, yeah, you'll be fine with it. It is, well, we'll talk about it in a bit. You've kind of like poked me here to make sure I talk about Gamma. But, so yeah, you'll have no problem at all. It's a superior line by design, and again, I'm all about the facts. I'm not here to try and sell anybody anything. I've just been lucky, haven't I? I've been parachuted into this industry, coming back in stock in the £15. I believe that's in, Anthony. I'll have to check on that. That's the 0.28, isn't it? Hi Dave, how you doing? Matthew Lee, how you doing? I'll check on that, Anthony, but I'm sure we have the 15 in stock, but leave that with me and I will check straight away after the feed. So, like I say, this is just me. I got parachuted into this industry, medically retired from when I was in the police, unfortunately. Loved that job, very exciting. And all I do now is go out and seek the best. If I can't get it, I try and make it. That's really where we are. So we can talk about line, we can talk about anything here. And obviously I'm going over a lot of stuff that I've talked about historically, but not necessarily on the main Pallatrax page. Oh, Lee's got loads of Hydra, you lucky man, you lucky man. So anyway, questions. Why do most carp anglers, this is from Damien Bolton, carp anglers not class a 20-pound fish as a big fish? Don't they? I think it's a huge fish. If you go, I always say to people, like, you know, the normal general public, they go into the fresh fish counter at Tesco's or Asda or wherever, and they see a mackerel or something like that. And then the next thing is you show somebody a picture of a 20-pound fish, and it's massive. I think... I've never been into size of fish. I'm actually into quality of different species, beautiful fish and things like that. Yeah, it looks like it's in stock. Who was asking fee for the £15? We try and keep it in stock all the time. So, yeah, that's our Anthony. Just remember, Anthony, if you're looking for it as a carp line, don't go for the £15. That is really, really thin. We use the £15. Well, whilst I'm on the conversation, I'll just do a quick cover of Gamma. For those who don't know, I know many will. Hi Shane, how you doing? So let me actually turn my camera around so I can try and explain. So if you look on this side, okay, that's a standard fishing line. All right, that's how the majority of fishing line out there, monofilament, copolymer, whatever you want to call it, is made up of. And so this here are lines of the molecular kind of interior of the fishing line. So what Gamma do, they've got this totally unique process. It's all to do with tennis strings. There is a carpology film I did on it last year if you want a bit more information. So what it does, it then cross-plies the molecules. So you go from something that has the strength it has and the abrasion resistance it has to increasing the strength and increasing the abrasion resistance. No gimmick, no slick marketing. It's the real deal. As I say, it comes all from the tennis string industry, which is a much bigger industry than the fishing industry, and it's a totally unique process. So if I was to show you Gamma, okay, there's Gamma, and if I was to show you another line or another line, okay, these are all polymers. So Gamma, they're all polymers, but what you actually have is you have that irradiation process. So it's like another manufacturing element to Gamma. So it's remanufactured. So it's a Japanese copolymer, which is then taken to America and remanufactured, as is their fluorocarbon. Obviously, fluorocarbon, again, totally different material than a copolymer. So never ever buy it. Having had 2 tackle shops, a lot of people come in, hi Stephen. A lot of people come in and basically would come to my shop and want to go carp fishing, and they'd say, I want to buy a £15 line, and I'd sell them a £15 line, never even thinking about the diameter and things like that. And then you go into a shop, look at all their £15 lines, and you'll see they're all different diameters and things like that. So that's a confusion, because in reality they should all be the same, shouldn't they? They're the same material, they should therefore be the same, breaking strain, abrasion resistance, yada yada. Obviously Gamma is very much different. but it's because it's so stronger. The mistake people can make, and it's not a schoolboy error. It's just because of how we've been taught about fishing line over the centuries, so to speak. You'll end up with something that's really, really, really thin. So don't. Good evening, Jason. Don't buy £15 if it's for carp fishing, because it's not £15 like a £15 bog standard line. You really want to be the way to like say if you're fishing on £23, people go, oh, that's ridiculous, that's really, really, heavy line. But no, you have to look at the diameter, and the diameter is only 0.36. And if you look at a standard fishing line, £15 will be between 0.37 and 0.39, 0.40. So what you actually get is you get a lower diameter, but all of those extra benefits. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it is confusing, and I understand why. And there we go. Right, so we were talking about doubles. This is Dave. A low double is a big fish in a lake full of single figure fish. A 20 maybe small to a lake full of 30s. Plus fish. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Dave, and but to me it's never been like about the size. I mean, obviously it's nice to catch big fish, it's great they're impressive creatures, but it shouldn't be the be all and end all. To be quite honest, it frustrates me sometimes when you see somebody that caught a big fish, gone to France, caught a big fish, and then suddenly, like, you look at me, I've caught this fish, I must be, a really, really cool angler and things like that. And it's about, I would say it's more about consistency in catching than actually catching one or two big fish. But each to their own. But I would certainly say, Damien, there's a lot of people, including people like me, that would be more than happy to catch a £20 fish. And a £20 fish, I mean, back in the day, if you go back into the early 80s when I was doing a lot of my fishing, and you saw, well, carp really didn't have much of a scene, but you saw like the barbel, and a £10 barbel was massive. It would be on the front page of the Angling Times or the Mail or something like that. Nowadays it's almost like they're 2 a penny, and that's no disrespect to them, it's just that fish have got bigger, and there could be a load of different reasons why that's happened. But yeah, a £20 fish to me is still a cracking fish, and as long as it's fit and healthy, happy days. So right, where are we going? So Steve Dorsey expecting Bolt £20 Gamma in stock. I thought it was, I'll have to check. I thought it was in stock currently at the moment, Steve. Oh, I'm just being told, shouted from the other room by my wife, we're actually out as of now of £20 because we sold some when we were away. So bear with me, we have a new order coming in, so it will be with us. Or just look at the 0.36, which is what I fish on, which is it's a 0.36, so it's the same diameter as a £15 standard line, but I've got increased abrasion and I've got increased breaking strain. Jason Leach.
0.33 was one.
How you doing? Is that Beanie from Cold and Windy Norfolk? Hopefully, Lee's saying he fishes the 17 and 20 to the 20. A fish is a fish. I've caught thousands of fish. I go not fishing, not for 30 pounds. Exactly. I use 0.36, 0.38. It requires 0.35 minimum. Yes, James, it's a bit like I say. The trouble is, with a lot of things in this industry, ever since I got involved in the industry, I didn't realise there was so much going on behind, so much marketing and things like that. I mean, there is definitely, because I've been to the big trade shows all over the world, and there's definitely better manufacturers with using better materials and things like that. So when it comes down to your diameter, again, if you go onto the best one I say to people is go onto the Tackle Box, Dartford, Kent. They have a line charter there, and you'll see what I'm saying about all the different diameters. So like I say, surely a £15, if it's, again, it's not regulated, the line market. So £15 everybody's £15 should be the same diameter, but they're not, and you have to caution why, and hence why, I'm all in with Gamma. It's not a market. I went and found Gamma. I went back to America when I heard of it, met the scientists behind it, and they are literally scientists, and hence why I fish on Gamma, and hence why I promote it, because I think it's the best out there. And when I say I think, I mean all the factual evidence is telling us it's the best out there, because it goes through a different process. But each to their own, and obviously, like anything, 1 second, it's not rum, unfortunately. I don't think I could face that with all the tablets I'm taking, but yeah, it's a different beast, to be quite honest, Gamma. Exactly, Robert. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I go out fishing to fish and enjoy my surroundings, and that's really should be what it's all about. Obviously, catching is like a massive bonus, but I must admit I don't like blanking. I really don't like blanking. But yeah, it's the whole atmosphere, and I was out there walking around the lakes yesterday. The resident owl flew past, and even though it's nasty now, isn't it? I so want the spring to come along. I just won't so want it. But it seems to be dragging on this year. But it is just being out and about, and sit there watching Netflix or YouTube, and all get out there and be amongst nature, be with friends. I know, Robert, you fish with your brother, which is fantastic. And that's fishing. It's just a lovely thing to do. Hi Dan, no worry, hope you're all right, mate. Where are we here? Anthony, I always use £15 line, different brands, and Gamma line has caught my eye. Yeah, like I say, Anthony, I always feel a bit, what's the word? I always feel a bit, I have to be a bit cautious because I get quite enthused. When I go and find something like that, and I think, that could be really good for our angling. That's really where it is. And if you see what's happening in the tank, I'll show you in a bit. It's certainly, I love it. And so when I found Gamma, because I was quite disappointed, because in reality, what we do as companies, we go to, say, like BFT Euro, and, you're given a chart with different colours, different breaking strains, and, for not a lot of money, you can buy a bulk spool of line, because it's just, literally, if you melt a spool of line, you'll just end up in a pool of plastic in reality. So it's not expensive, and it's basically all pretty much the same. I'm not saying it's all exactly the same, because that's impossible, because we don't know exactly what manufacturers are doing, but they're all using the same component parts, be it fluorocarbon or polymers or whatever. But what you've got then is it's a bit like the grips. People say to me, the grips, there's a further manufacturing process, because you have the cutting point and then you have the edges put into the grips. So it's another manufacturing to make it that much better. And it's the same with Gamma. You've got another process of manufacturing. And on that, online, and just because this is sometimes what I say is deemed controversial. It's not meant to be. It's just that if you see the facts and find out and speak to the experts, who am I to kind of disagree with them when they've got the facts? And just online, a lot of people, and I used to do it, used to chuck my fishing line in a bowl of water. Okay, and you don't need to do that. Whatever anybody's telling you, you talk to the actual manufacturers, and the one thing they said to me, which really, really kind of resonated and stuck in there, do you think we put this line in big bowls of water to put it onto that, to put it onto this spool? You think, no. So just be careful. Some of the stuff out there is really old wives' tales. And actually, when you talk to the experts, it's blown a lot of the theories or the beliefs I had out the water, to be fair. Hi, Darren. So, Anthony, any questions on that, feel free to give me a call. Yes, Mark, it does. It goes on. You get such fantastic line lay with Gamma as well. So, Matthew's saying, what diameter should we use for carp? Well, like I say, if nothing wrong with this line, it's a very good standard line. ESP Synchro, 0.37, £15. So that's what you're looking at pretty much across the market. £15 is around that kind of diameter. So if you were to say, right, well, that's a low diameter for £15 or a fair diameter, but I can have a £23 breaking strain line, okay, at the same diameter. And because it's the diameter it is, you don't want to go too thin because you lose the advantage of abrasion resistance. So and again, now I look at everything in diameter to breaking strain, whereas the industry is breaking strain to diameter, which actually isn't correct. It should be diameter. If you look at the match angle, it's diameter to breaking strain. So I would suggest if you're, I've got 0.36 on my reels because they do me for here and abroad, and it's bomb-proof, to be quite honest. And all you have to do to put it on is put it on the ground and then just let it naturally come off. And you need to make sure your line is always coming off reverse to the way it goes on. Okay, and then you won't get any line twist. A lot of people get line twist, and that's because they're not putting it on properly. So be careful. There is a way, and like I say, a lot of people will swear to you, you've got to put it in a bucket of water, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Well, the manufacturers of the actual line say different, and I'm going to go with them, and that's what I've done for the last 16 years, and I've never ever had line twist. I've never had a problem, but they only want to tell me the truth. So hopefully that's helped you there, Matthew. 0.36 is my go-to. Yes, Beanie, I hope we are seeing you. I'm looking forward to that. Galen's saying he loves the 3.6 over in Canada there. So I should get the 0.36, 23 pound. That's what I would go for. That's what I've got. And it's bomb-proof for both here, because you've still got a really, really low diameter. Because what people will say is going, 23 pound breaking strain, that's huge. And it's like, no, it's all about the diameter. You could go down diameter. But I think to have an all-round line, so you've not got lots of different spools, 0.36 is the same diameter as a 15 pound, so you've got a really low diameter for the 23 pound breaking strain, and you've got that increased abrasion. The problem is some people go, right, I want 15 pound, and they'll go towards, and I actually do, every time we get an order that comes through for 15 pound of gamma, so the 0.28, I will ring people up and say, are you sure this is the right thing? Because a lot of people are just buying how they used to buy. So hopefully that explains. Natalie, how are you doing, sister-in-law? I hope you're well. Great to see you. One thing about Pallatrax, no one holds a gun and tells you how to fish. Most come here blind to Pallatrax, and myself know my catch mate has gone up. Yeah, thanks, Lee. And that is, it's not, I'm not. I mean, I've been in this industry for 26 years. I think there's a lot of slick marketing out there. I think the beauty for me, and therefore, it kind of resonates outwards, is I'm not into gimmick. I'm looking for a way to fish effectively and fish responsibly. And it works. I honestly believe by going for the best, you'll get better results. I think that's just what it is. And I think as well, because we're all very open, we're all, the team especially is very keen to help people, and we're all there to catch more fish in that safe and responsible manner. We talk to each other. We help newcomers. It doesn't matter how old they are, what sex they are, what experience we're all amongst. And sorry, I'm just reading down. So I'm with you, Lee, and it's nice that you would say that. Bob Frost, any advantage to gamma line other than diameter and abrasion resistance? Well, basically, it's stronger. It's stronger. Where we go. That's the main thing, is it's stronger. And the reason it's stronger, let me go back to my little picture. So there you've got the standard, molecular, and here you've got like a fishnet of molecules. And that's what gives it all the benefits. But also it's got a really silky feel, it casts really well, but the fact is, by diameter, it's much stronger than any other fishing line in the world. And it's actually all come from, as I said earlier, tennis string manufacturing, Bob. And again, little old Pallatrax, we're a disruptor, because we're saying, has anybody seen this? This is kind of really incredible gear. It's not like what and you've had a shop, haven't you, Bob, historically? It is genuinely the real deal. And if you go on to Gamma Technologies, which is a big American firm, they talk about it. It's a patented process, and they can manipulate the molecular structure. Tennis strings made out of the same as fishing line polymers, and they can manipulate it. The trouble is, you are up against an industry. It's a bit like the Stones or the Grips or Gamma. These are very, very much different products, designed for genuine reasons, but they go against the flow, don't they? But now we're involved, doing things with carpology. We're going to do a lot more filming this year. It's not to persuade people to buy it. It's just to say, look, these are the facts. Make your own decisions. We're not here to pressure at all, but we genuinely have a lot of facts behind us that actually goes up against the industry. But that's what can I do? If what happens if what I'm saying is the truth? I can promise you, hand on heart, and those people here who know me, I'm not into doing anything other than trying to get to the truth. And you've got to go onto the Tackle Box's line chart and see all of these different lines with different breaking strains and different diameters. A lot of the stuff out there doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. It's like, an industry almost en masse telling anglers to drop lumps of toxic lead into delicate substrate. People believe this stuff and do it because the influencers are telling it. But if you look behind it, you think, wow, that's not a good idea. Anyway, so hopefully, Bob, that makes sense. Where are we? James, yes, that would be recommended. It's the same diameter as most £15 lines, which is much better brazes. Yeah, brilliant. Hang on a second. Anthony, you won't be disappointed. No, there's loads of us on it. And like I say, it's not, there's not, these folk are lovely people. Oops, Facebook didn't like my post. Oh, dear me, what have you done now, Lee? You're always doing things like that. I was using washing up liquid on a sponge to sink the line quicker. All I can say, Anthony, is this is from the manufacturers, and they would say definitely don't do anything like that. But each their own. If you're happy with it and it works for you, who am I to say any different? But all I'm saying is they don't, if you think about it, and it all goes back to, they don't do anything like, when they spool these off, they come off huge spools like the size of an oil drum, and they don't put it through any water treatment or a sponge or anything like that. They're very, very aware. I was telling them that people were using things like tea towels and, holding it and they said what that will do, that will potentially upset the molecules by heat and things like that. And you start listening and you start thinking and you think, well, who told me all this stuff? And it's literally, to some extent, Chinese whispers. You just come through, like all bait should have Robin Red in it. And then you say to people, what's Robin Red? And they go, well, I don't know. And things like that. So that's all I can say. I'm not trying to be controversial. The fact is what I say sometimes is deemed controversial just because it doesn't fit the narrative. But what happens if the narrative is wrong? Where are we going now? Ian saying it's just converted to gamma. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It really, really does cast like a dream. I swear it was a fine comment, but face, they know you, they're tracking you. Is there a video? Yes, there is. There's a carp video, there's carp, carpology, and it's also on our YouTube channel, Catch More Fish TV. You'll see, and it's literally, you literally put it on the deck, make sure the line is coming off anti-clockwise and just reel in under slight pressure. And it just goes on beautifully. Really, really does. But that's because it's different, and that's just the truth. I mean, it's not me telling you this. It's the science behind it all, which is where I really want to go. It's like with fishing baits, when somebody says this, that and the other, and you go, have that kind of tagline, question everything, assume nothing. And a lot of the stuff written about bait and about fish and about the fact that fish can see this, and you think, well, they can't see things at night, but what they can do is they can sense things like a bat at night and all these different things. So I've kind of moved myself away from a lot of the mainstream narrative because I can't find any fact to it. I've been very fortunate to having the fisheries and the tackle shops and obviously starting Pallatrax from scratch, and therefore I can look at things differently. I don't have to follow that narrative. I'll follow it if it's the correct thing to do. I didn't need to have a lead to cast. And as we proved, a stone is a real true angling edge, not an angling disadvantage. I don't need to have a standard copolymer. So it's, without wanting to sound overly indulgent, it's all about me to some extent. It's like, well, I'm in this industry, and it's like, that kind of thing. And well, let's try this, let's do that, let's go to somewhere else. Let's not just follow the same old narrative and see people, it's like rigs. The rigs are, I think, there's various flawed approaches within carp fishing especially. And fishing generally, if you look at pellets and things like that, people, think that bloodworm pellet is made of bloodworm. Well, it's not. It's coated, and not with bloodworm. You look at some of the baits out there; they've got no food value. Why would you want to fish with something that's not got food value? So I suppose it's that David versus Goliath thing with Pallatrax. And all I will say is David did win with a stone. There we go. So yes, Mick, look on those channels and you'll see that. I never used a bucket water spool. Even my sea line, I used to, you see, and what used to happen, and this is what the gamma said to me, so you're spooling it, so you've got this in a bucket of water, and then, so your line's coming off anti-clockwise, as it should do, and then a spool can twist, and then it comes off in reverse, and that's building line twist into your line. And when they said it to me, I thought, why was I doing that? It's so obvious, but, I used to use Sonic Subsonic as a copolymer line that's very close to gamma but has slightly lower breaking strain. 0.36 is around £22 for Sonic line. It's certainly, and again, I'm not knocking it, James, it definitely won't be the same as gamma because it won't be irradiated, because gamma is the only irradiated one in the, polymer in the world, to be fair. So, Good to see you. Palms, likewise, Paul. You've got a cup here. Come up here at some stage. Hope to see you soon. What's Bob asking me there? How about visibility? How about visibility? See, where I am with visibility is it's all about what a fish can sense, not what we think we can see. All fishing line, I'm afraid, is visible to the senses of fish. You know, how they can detect it through changes of water pressure and things like that. You know, it really doesn't, you know, the only time I ever use and think about the visibility of line, and even then I'm still acknowledging that the fish will sense it because it's not part of their natural environment, is I use fluorocarbon leaders on when I'm river fishing or fishing a gin clear lake, just in case. But by fishing fluorocarbon, you know, it's got its advantages and its disadvantages. Fluorocarbon, for example, is greater abrasion resistant but higher diameter to breaking strain. But yeah, so when it comes to gamma, I mean, you know, it's like any other fishing line. You know, if you, like I say, if you can see that, they can sense it. So there's no way. I mean, the only way to scale down is like, you know, to make a difference with your line is to scale down, and that's not because they won't see it. It's just less for them to sense. So. But like I say, Paul, I just swear by the stuff, and it's not because I'm trying to flog it or anything like that. It's because it's different, and different for the better, and supported by scientific facts. When if you start going to, you know, the after trade shows and things like that, and you start talking to the people behind it all and the processes of how line's made and what it's made from and things like that, you know, like I say, I was quite disappointed that basically it's all the same. Just some different badges and different colours and things like that, whereas gamma stood apart, and it does stand apart. How does stretch? Well, basically it doesn't stretch like other lines because, again, if you go back to my little picture here, so normal copolymer, obviously it can actually stretch, yeah, because there's no molecules stopping that stretch. So if you think about it, if that's your line, you know, you have stretch because your molecules are just going left to right. Gamma goes left to right and up and down, and so therefore that stops that stretch. And we call it like a hybrid between standard polymer and a braid. Now, I'm not a fan of braid. Braid's obviously very, very good at bite detection because of the lack of stretch. So what we've got with gamma, we've got less stretch because of the way the molecules are. Hopefully that makes sense. Where are we at? I've got Except Pro £16, but looking to swapping over. Like I say, Dina, you know, anybody here at all, you can always ring me up and ask me about it. You know, I when I discovered this stuff, I was over at a show in Las Vegas. Sounds good, doesn't it? It was actually, and don't hold it there anymore. And I met these guys, and they'd just come onto the fishing scene, and they're a massive tennis company. And somebody at Gamma, basically, who was a bass angler, said, well, surely this will be brilliant for bass fishing because they do that snap fishing as well. And that's how it kind of came out there. And it is, like I say, it's definitely, you know, something really to have a look at. And if you want any more information, you know, there's nothing hidden agenda. It is what it is. A lot of fishing is old wives' tales. Yes, it certainly is. Graham, do you submerge it in water when spooling on? No, like I say, Graham, no, not at all. You literally dry wind it. When it comes out to customers, it comes with instructions. And the way to kind of get it in your head, I suppose, is when they put it on these spools from the bulk spools, even though this is classed as a bulk spool for us, when they put it on these, you know, they come off these huge oil drum spools, like I said earlier, and they don't put it through any water. They just literally go straight on through the machine. So it's like I say, when you start hearing this, and you know, when they started showing me and telling me, because it's very difficult to get right close to a manufacturer, but Gamma are so much different because they're a tennis string manufacturer and they're very open and very, you know, and prove the point. So yeah, no need to do it. I mean, you know, it's like a lot of things in the fishing industry. You know, when you go past the question, so you come up to a point where people say, oh, you have to put, you know, you have to pre-soak line, or you know, take it off in water and that. And so and a lot of people tend to stop there. I don't. I want to question why. So I'll go, well, why? And then when people go, well, we've always been told that way, and it's like, so when people have said to me in barbel fishing, you know, you got to fish at least a 5 foot trace, and I've always said, but why? And they'll go, well, we've always done it that way. And it's like, well, I've caught loads of barbel on 3 or 4 inch hook links. So, you know, some of this stuff is just kind of, I suppose, just percolated its way along to where we are today, and people are just believing what we're being told. And then you look at, no disrespect meant here, a lot of the kind of influencers I see on YouTube and Facebook, things like that, they're only young folk, and have they really got the depth of experience and multi-species and all this kind of other stuff? And they're following a narrative that they've been taught. They haven't seen what we've seen, you know, in times gone by. So I would just question everything. It's like with bait, you know, a bait is one of those things that, you know, just because it's red and round and smells of strawberries, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good quality bait. We know fish will pick up plastic sweet corn. So it's not, the fish are curious, they'll do things, but at the end of the day, surely we want a fish on bait that's actually made of a really good ingredient. People don't even question their ingredients. It's like there's a famous pellet out there that was, you know, 20 years ago, right? It's out there, same name, things like that. 20 years on, it's not the same pellet, not the same ingredient profile, but still got the same name, and the angler thinks they're still buying the same thing. You just got to question it. That's all I would definitely say, and you'll very quickly get to the truth that a lot of people don't know the answer to the, you know, to their own question or their own point, if that makes sense. So spoiler, there we go. Alan, how you doing, Alan? Nice to see you hauling out at the liquid again. I'm using a cheap mono Westlake, can't fault it. Neil, each to their own. Like I say, I don't think probably now there is a really, really bad copolymer on the market. Not really bad, but there is definitely better ones. But like I say, if it's working for you, and it's in, you know, like I say, there is grades of copolymer. You will get 3 grades. Copolymer is a crystal which they melt down, but they also use basically refurb, so all the bits and pieces. Copolymer is used in toothbrush bristles, strimmer wire, all kinds of different things. So, but no, like I say, I'm not here to sell anything. But personally, for me, and again, this is not said with any arrogance, I want to fish on the best, you know, and I'm lucky that I can, you know, afford to have things like that because I steal it out of the warehouse. But Gamma is, from all the research I've done and been out to America, Pittsburgh and things like that, it's unbeatable from a quality point of view. So, but it's each their own, and if you've got no problems, it's, you know, that's great stuff. I think Westlake, isn't that the not Fishing Republic? Go Outdoors lane. Yeah, Matt's on that. No, just put the spool face over. Where we going? Colin, good evening. No worries, sir. We'll be seeing you soon. Gary King, good evening. Same principle when you're using break butts. Yeah, exactly, Steve. Exactly. I want to use Gamma, but is green a good colour? Like I say, this is one of those things that it's all gone wrong here, really. Oh, just quickly, whilst we. If you want to be in chance of tonight's Pallatrax raffle, it's a whole selection of different patterns for of the grips hooks, a different design. Again, controversial, but I was talking to Jez Hibbard today. He's out in his fishery in Thailand, and him and his wife Pond, and we were speaking, and they won't now fish on. They've done so many tests. They won't fish on anything else other than grips, not only because they stay sharp, but also they don't bend out and they don't cause the mouth damage. That's some of the other hooks they've used historically have done. So going back, Anthony, like I say, this is just me and where I am with it. I did a whole season fishing on ultra high vis gold. So it's literally, like startling gold. Because where I was coming from, having learned all about the fish biology and things like that, it's not about what you see. It's about what they can sense. And don't get me wrong, they have eyes. So we don't know exactly what they see. There's lots of thoughts. There's no real facts to it. So I really don't care what colour it is, to be quite honest. You see a lot of people now using purple and red lines and things like that. It's about the diameter. The thinner diameter I can get, is the less chance of the fish sensing it. It's a bit like, I suppose, if you think about it, if you put some cotton through a doorway, you wouldn't be able to see it potentially, and you could walk through it. But if you put a thicker rope, you would be able to see it. That's exactly how fish have got They do a lot of things, and they got these things called hairs on their linear line. It's like a little gel bump, and they feel minute changes in water pressure. So that's why they aren't swimming in your line all the time, is because they can actually feel it there. And if you see a lot of times fish, when you put a fish back, and it will just spook straight off your line, doesn't hit it, spooks. And that's because they're feeling, and this again, this is not down to me, this is down to the biology of the fish and the open research that's been done there. So I don't really get too hung up about the colour. I get up about, I'm all about the quality, diameter, abrasion resistance. A lot of lines shouldn't snap, but it will if it's got a nick in it, and that's where I think Gamma for me comes into its own. It is bomb proof. So there we go. That's just my thoughts, Auntie. Other people will say to you, and again, if you look at all these different colour lines, the only one that has a refractive index that potentially fish can't see, they can still sense the diameter, is fluorocarbon, and it's that fluorocarbon isn't the best as a main line, to be fair. All right, where are we going? We'll go with clear, but trouble is with clear, Ryan, and I used to sell clear. 1 second, let me have a slurp. And clear will take on sediment. Now, they have it in the US and places like that because a lot of the waters are gene clear. A lot of our lakes and waters, rivers and things like that, they're quite murky and muddy, got a lot of sediment and things like that. And you'll see it actually cling to clear. So, that's why I stopped actually selling clear, because it came in all stained, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. So there we go. Where are we? Haley, you're on my... I think we've had a few problems back at HQ. Colin caught many carp on Gamma. Good old Colin, who unfortunately passed away recently. At night, it's not about the bait at the end of the line, what the fish are into, not the line itself. Yeah, well, like I say, it's... Gamma, Colin more than proved the point, didn't he? Fish after fish. We will speak this week, Hayley. So I hope you're feeling as best as you can be, and we're here with you if you ever want to contact us. But you will be getting a call from me in the next couple of days. Stay safe. Colin was a legend, caught some boss feet. Exactly, he sure did, and it was the last 2 years. Exactly, so true. I've caught carp, barbel and cats all on the sec rig, only thing changed, the hook bait. Yeah, and like I say, if it's working, I think the confusion nowadays in regards to rigs is I see people come down here and they've got all these different rigs, don't really know why, they've copied them off of YouTube and things like that. If you look at the basic principle of what the hair rig is all about, and you see a lot of these rigs, so I just it's not a rig I use. I mean, you'll probably know I use the LQ rig for the majority of my fishing. That's not to say I wouldn't change it if I needed to, but it works for the vast majority of circumstances. But let's just say a Ronnie rig, okay? So Mr. X and Mr. Y, they both make a Ronnie rig, but they're different. Because they're called a Ronnie rig, people think they're the same. And that is the problem we've got with rigs. So the original Ronnie rig is how it's developed and designed. If you look at now, all of the different it's kind of like all over the place. A rig is no longer the rig. It's just been, people have interpreted it differently. Like they say, Chinese whispers around the campfire. Somebody will say this, and by the time it's got all the way around the fire, it's totally changed. And that is a problem with this industry. And again, as an interested insider and as an ex-shop, tackle shop owner, of course, we want product to sell to people. But what happens if that product is pulling us away from the true narrative of what the hair rig is confusing, the lack of consistency. I mean, whereas how I fish, I want to be consistent. That's not to say if you have sat next to me fishing on a longer rig and a different pattern and I wasn't catching anything, of course, I'd be the first to change. It's never happened. And I think consistency is the key. And now if you're going to use lots of different rigs, I mean, it's very difficult for me to explain because of how my head works, all these little boxes in there. But if you think about it, rigs are the most inconsistent element of hair rig fishing. And people are using all different rigs. And I kind of emphasise this. If you go to a match lake, so like a donut match lake, and probably some match anglers here, I've done it as a youth, and you've got everybody to bring in, their rigs will be there or thereabouts. You go to a carp lake and get everybody to bring their rigs in, they'll all be pretty much different. There'll be different lengths, different hooks, different hook link materials, different baits, difference. And it all goes, and that is the trouble. And therefore, if everybody's fishing inconsistently, there cannot be any consistency. You know, and that's what, for me, that's what fishing's about. If you find a winning formula and it works consistently, then you're on a winner. Neil saying, I tend to fish slack lines just a bit to try and keep the line on the bottom so the feel. Hang on, press that over my spot. Yeah, again, we're all different, aren't we? I don't fish. I fish tight line in the vast majority of situations. Having dived on line, and depending on water depth, there's various things. Your line is never from the weight to your rod tip in a kind of like piano string. It doesn't. After a while, it starts to sag, and also you can get undertow as well. The trouble is with, it's a new thing, or relatively new. I can remember when it came in, and I was quite, I looked at it, and obviously I'm not saying there isn't. I think a lot of things really is some of this stuff that's coming to the industry is very, very niche. You might need it in niche circumstances. So if you look at, again, the match angler, which I look at and respect, and all other areas of fishing I've done, from my boats in Bermuda, boats back here, my fly fishing, whatever, it's always been a tight line. And that's because you're looking for bite detection. As soon as you've got slack line, the problem is if a fish picks it up and comes towards you, you don't get indication. And that is the biggest problem. And a fish is as likely to come towards you, if not, like my lakes here, if you're fishing on the far bank, fish can't get out and go over the top of the bank. They've got to come back towards you. And if I was fishing slack line, I wouldn't have a clue. So again, it's to me, in my interpretation, and again, I'm not trying to be controversial, it's each their own, but the trouble is you've got to look at the facts that if you're on slack line and a fish comes towards you, you cannot get any indication, and that is not a good thing. Where are we going? I fished on a well-known bait for years. They changed ingredients. Yeah, I mean, I think we've all seen that, Lee, over the years, where, I mean, I can honestly say, hand on heart, I don't change anything. It just becomes more expensive to make. But I've got my agenda, haven't I? I'm doing what I'm doing, and but the trouble is, people, if you've been in the game as long as me, everything's, fish meals, for example, gone up hundreds% in the last 20 years. Everything's gone up. Fresh egg. Oh. And I swear by fresh egg. I know other people use synthetic binders, but I'm a real fan of fresh egg. Nothing doesn't eat an egg. And so yeah, things have gone up in price, but some of the, why aren't baits going up in price? They're still very much similar price to, what they were like 20 years ago, to be quite honest, which is, something's not right there, and the only thing you can do is cut your ingredients. That's all you can do. You can't suddenly say, well, I'm going to have cheaper electric or cheaper factory or cheaper staff or things like that. No, it's not. The only way, and that's when you see, and I would really caution, when people buy on price, it's real false economy. I think you should always be in a position to ring up your bait manufacturer and say, you need to assure me that this is good food source for the fish, for the environment, and for me, for catching. I don't want to be fishing on rubbish. And then you go on and you see like some of these big chain stores, especially like some of the ones in France I've been into, and they're selling like 10-kilo bags for basically €15. And you just think, well, what can be made? They're making a profit on that. What on earth can it be made of? And because it's round and it smells of strawberries, people think there's nothing wrong with it. But again, if the ingredient structure, which is probably 99.9% of what you're not really referring to, because the colour and the smell is obvious, but the thing that's hidden in plain sight is the actual ingredients. And if you've got poor ingredients, you can only expect poor results. The trouble is, and it's really frustrating, isn't it, that you can still catch whopping fish on a really, really bad bait, unfortunately. And that's the shame of it, because if bad bait didn't work, so like most things in life, if it was bad and it didn't work consistently, you'd know it. But every now and again these big fish get caught, and they're caught on something like that, and it's a frustration for me as a bait maker when you can make it the best I can possibly make it, because I'm thinking about the environment as well as my fishing. And then people say, well, this stuff's cheaper. And you think, you get what you pay for, don't you? Get what you pay for. I used fishing line on my Strimmer before. There you go. Where are we, James? Same as me. It's the same for me. I used to live around the corner from the original Haste factory. Was gutted when the ingredients changed on Robin Red. Well, the reason this is interesting actually, folks. If you don't know this one, because Robin Red is, if you look about where Robin Red came from, and back in the day when I was a kid, a lot of fishing was centralised around the Midlands, and one of the things we did, because I did it as well, we had pigeons, and Haste are basically a bird seed feed manufacturer. Robin Red was fed to pigeons and other birds to bring out the plumage, so they're show pigeons, because the red goes within the feathers basically. But the trouble is, using it in fishing bait, and it's a spice. It's like a form of paprika. It's spicy, it stains and things like that. But they had to recently. This is a prime example of what I was saying earlier. They had to reconfigure it because it failed DEFRA. DEFRA's very much about dyes, because fish will take on colours. And back in the day, you used to see in the magazines fish, and they had real red bellies, and this was because they were being caught on and feeding on baits full of Robin Red. Now, Robin Red is still called Robin Red, but it's no longer the same Robin Red as it used to be. And that's I think where I'm uncomfortable with the industry. It will put out a narrative. It's still the same or viewed by the anglers still the same because it's the same name, but it's actually totally different material. They've taken out one of the really, really high active ingredients. You can still get Robin Red, but it's not the same. It's just the same name. So I feel your pain there, James. I had to go for a set lure caught PB Birch today. What? You are? What? You are smashing these fish out, Lee. Lee's been catching some cracking perch. Well done, mate. Huge congrats. Well, hopefully get my new reels in March, then going to treat myself to some gammon. Well, say, Anthony, just feel free to give me a kill. You need to finish the comp for the hooks. No, wait. It's all in good time. I'm quite happy sitting here nattering away. I've got none of the things I was going to do, never thought, no, you're more than welcome. Evening, Stav, congratulations on that lovely barbel you caught. Colin's been fishing since he was a child and tried many different fishing products and bleeding gammon. No, I mean, Colin was a true friend to us and to Pallatrax, and he certainly caught his fair share of fish. And it was great that I could speak to him so regularly, because he'd come from not knowing anything about Pallatrax to embracing Pallatrax to its full. And look at the fish he caught, and it's just so sad that he's not with us anymore. But he's with us in spirit, and I won't forget him, that's for certain. Anthony, I use a basic hair rig around 4 inches long with a kicker on a curved shank hook. Like I say, Anthony, the rig thing is a massive mess as far as I'm concerned. There's so many different permutations of the same thing. So many people trying to reinvent the wheel to sell us more gear. With all the years I've been in the industry, I just made that position now where I don't, there's so much effort and focus and all these different things going on about rigs, whereas some of the main key parts of fishing, like watercraft, like quality of bait, presentation, moving swims, all these different things that should be right up there, people are focusing, in my humble opinion, in some circumstances, too much on the rig. And the fact is, by doing that, they're actually moving further and further away from what a hair rig was and is. It doesn't need to be that complicated. Nick, for good point, seen lots of rigs, different names, all variations of the spinner rig. Yeah, well, that's it, Nick. I mean, it blows my head. I see people come down here, and one of the things I will always do, I will always try my best. Years and years ago, when, Team Pallatrax is very much based on the fishing club I used to be a member of, and everybody helped each other. And the trouble is, as I say, nowadays, it's just such a mess. People are copying something they've seen on YouTube. It won't necessarily be exactly the same, or even the one on YouTube won't be exactly the same. And then you just get this confusion. And we've had it down here where we've taken people, obviously no pressure, but we said, look, these are the apparent flaws in the rig you're fishing. Come over to this LQ rig, which we tend to all fish on, and straight away they're catching fish. And it's just, you watch those under fishing films and some of the stuff that Galen does for us over in Canada, you'll see how many times fish are picking up and spitting it out. And that is because the rig isn't efficient. You'll see a fish come over, pick it up, spit it out. Another fish come over, pick it up, spit it out. The rig's not doing as best it can. But even the best rig in the world will still get done. That's just life. More carrying the good stuff. Buy well, pay once. Exactly, and that's where I am. Pigeon conditioner. Gary, you asking pigeon conditioner? Awesome stuff. I love pigeon conditioner. You try fishing with short rods, Pom, like 10 foot. What do you think of all the different rods these days? Oh, now you ask me to be controversial now, Neil. No, it's not for me. I think, again, and I see people, there's some quite nasty debates on Facebook. The failing of Facebook is, you can get this nastiness and things like that. But, when I can remember the first kind of stalking rod, when I had my first tackle shop, and it was brought out by Chubb, and who were ultimately bought out by Harding Grays and one thing and another. But Chubb bought out this stalking rod. It's 9 foot. And it was promoted for, fishing in tight spaces, a single rod approach, going through, poking through, little holes and bushes and things like that. And then over recent years, it's kind of just grown and grown and grown. I mean, I tried to cast somebody's 6 foot rods down here. And I'm not saying I'm the best caster in the world, but the action and the castability of it was terrible. And then going back to, I've seen like 3.5 pound, 8 foot rods, 3.5 pound, and you're not going to get the same action. That's just a fact. But if you're happy on them, fine. From a management point of view, where I am, so from a personal point of view, 12 foot rods were designed to be 12 foot over many, many years, because that was the optimum length. And obviously you could go higher, but we're not like the match angler, who's got different rods for different situations. So they'll have a feeder rod, they'll have a float rod and all different float rods, they'll have a pole and things like that. I've never, ever, ever felt my fishing has been compromised by having a 12 foot rod. I've seen people say like, oh, well, it's easy to fit in my car and things like that. I don't think personally that's a reason to fish on a shorter rod. The caution I do have is bumping and mouth damage. Now, with some of these really high test curve rods, and God knows why they're high test curve, because they don't need to be, you've got a shorter rod, so it's almost coming down into the area of like a scaffold pole or broomstick. So you've got shorter rods, stiffer, no give for the fish, so a lot of pressure on the mouth. And consequently, I don't agree with them from that perspective, because fish safety is all to me. But people use them, people talk great things about them, but I can only talk from my personal opinions. Those are my personal opinions. I've got my 12 foot rods. I've got 12 foot in different test curves. So if I'm lighter fishing for smaller fish and things like that. But I do caution, a 6 foot, 3.5 pound test curve rod. The angler can't get the fun of fishing out of it, in my humble opinion, but also they certainly don't cast, and they certainly weren't designed, nothing was ever designed to be within our sphere of fishing. But like I say, each to their own. I'm not here to be controversial. The only point I would hasten to add, because everything else is a personal viewpoint, is, are we causing a lot of unintentional damage by rods that don't have the action that they would do? So there we go. He'll be watching up there, I'm sure he will. I bet he's got a new personal record on there as well, to be quite honest, Hayley. People talking, sending love and hugs to family. Everybody's, that's lovely. Got Great that you're here, Hayley. Thanks, Palmer. It's hard work, but certainly not a quick 48 hours, as some say. Yeah, what is a quick 48 hours? Hold your breath for 48 hours. It was a cold, long one, but yeah, you came through, Stav. That was a cracking fish. I can understand 6 foot rods for boat fishing, but I personally don't use more than 10 foot for any carp fishing. Yeah, I mean 6 foot rods. I mean I've had my boats both here and abroad, and you've got those. They are what they are to do what they do. But in my humble opinion, it's not for me. Not for me. I can understand. I have 12 foots, then tried shorter rods, and then my lure rod. This is from Lee. 8 rods, very limited situations. Yeah, exactly. And so I had a go on my mate's 6 foot rods. So I didn't go much on them in the action, so I went back to 6 foot, 12 foots. Yeah, like I say, we're not here to be dismissive if people like them, but there's certainly. Is it not the case of being even more controversial? We're just being sold stuff, more stuff. Because, and I think I don't think it's improving anybody's angling by having shorter rods and things like that. What's Bob? Bob knows his stuff. 12 rods is recognised length for distance, and most of all, picking up the line on the strike. Well, it should. Yeah, exactly. And Bob's old school and I'm old school, and there's reasons why they're 12 foot and reasons why they're not 6 foot. But like I say, the industry is. Bringing stuff out all the time, isn't it? And it's changed so much since I was a kid. When what was brought out was just fishing tackle. Obviously the carp scene hadn't arrived, and then all the thrills and spills, with bivvies and bed chairs, and we were spending now huge amounts of money on stuff that we never ever had access to, and we need to, I think, sometimes step back and go, we're spending a lot of money here, but we're not catching any more fish. Are we spending money in the right areas? And that's why personally, I've got good reels in Shimano. My alarms are just these that I had made up for me in the Far East. They're certainly nothing fandango, but they do the job. And my line, as far as I'm concerned, with all the facts, Gamma, I can't beat it, so I'm happy on that. I'm happy on the baits because I make them myself. I'm happy on the LQ rig because it's literally caught thousands of fish. But then, do I need a really expensive bivvy? Do I need, some of the stuff that's I've seen launch recently? Especially when I'm disappointed when I see stuff that the angler can go onto Amazon and buy it at half the price of a brand, and I think we need to remember when we're in the trade that you folks put us where we are by buying our stuff, and it should be Vince White, are you in the house? And that's why I suppose don't fit into some of the stuff going out there, because I'm just like you folks. I'm just another angler. I look at something and go, well. I can remember buying something which I then found on eBay last year, and it was exactly the same. It just didn't have a logo on it, and it was half the price. And you think the person selling on eBay was still making a profit. So how much, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everything out there is a rip-off, but I do think there's a lot of stuff out there that we're paying over the odds for. And you can buy it elsewhere for a lot cheaper. But there we go. Right, we now have Pom's live feed winner. So for all these little hook bundles of wonderful grips, can you see that? Darren Cottrell. You won't be able to see that because it's back to front, isn't it? But Darren Cottrell, you have won. So if you can please message us on the page, your name, well, got your name obviously, your address, and we will get those off to you. So Lee Kelly isn't the winner. So there you go. My rods are 2.75. Yeah, I didn't win again. So right, what we're going to do now, because I've got loads of questions I never answered, so I do apologise for those. But I'm going to come back round. I was going to show you these. I'll just show you these very quickly because hopefully work. I don't know if I mentioned them on this one, but I mentioned them on the team page. I've invested in a pair of these for my fishing. Yeah, we'll do that in a second. So hopefully, I don't know if anybody's ever used these. They've got a little camera there. So yeah. So that's my latest little as a Christmas present. What's Dave saying? Bivy fan on Temu for 15 quid. Exactly the same as cart brands being sold for 50. Always worth lurking outside the industry. Exactly. Had a mate smell the waterworms. I can't smell anything. Me, you're not a fish. Exactly, Stav. Exactly. That is the thing, isn't it? We've grown into, I call it the flawed sniff test, and I was as bad as everybody. I love the smell of Tutti Frutti, all the old Richworth ones. I absolutely love the smell, but it's all about the ingredients and not just, don't get me wrong, flavours do have their place. You've got the Ray-Ban ones. I looked at those, but you're obviously far richer than I am, so let me know how you get on with them, Vince, because that'll be right, so hang on. Right, here we go. So we're going to go round to... I wonder if I take this off. This might be better. Right, hang on a second. So we're going to go now and look at the... we're going to go and look at the... where's the jobber? So that's the... hang on. So there's the spirulina ones. So they started off, and like you say, they've got all different kinds of ingredients and minerals and health benefits, as well as the attraction food. And there is the insect version. So what we'll do, and these will be available to team members very soon. So obviously they've been here about an hour now, and again you can just see, and this is what I want to, I want things to break down, I want things to cloud up into the water, I want it to spread around, so you can imagine. And they haven't completely gone, so they're still there. So obviously in warmer water conditions, first fish I ever, Ryan, that's the first carp I ever caught on, was a Richworth white chocolate. So there you go. So hopefully you can see all that. You can see it. It's, and this is, this is what I like. We know for a fact that, let me just go down, you can still see, you can still, it's like bobbing apples. Oh, I can't get it. I don't know if you can see it. It might just, but they haven't completely disappeared. There's still some shape to them. But what we do know, and this is where I really come from. Oh, I can't turn around now. Stand one. Wait 1 second. Let me put me back in my little clippy thing. But what we do know with these kind of products, they're fully regulated, they're fully healthy, and they're designed for fish. So it's not like anything in these, the fish farming market and things like that. It has to work. It's not guessing. It's got all of the right ingredients there, and some of this stuff, like I say, you can put these in with a stick mix, put them in with a PVA bag. Almost do whatever you want, but that's what you're going to see in the water. When other fish come in and agitate, but it's all about that attraction, and we know it's the real deal. We're not just taking it. Not yet, Mark. They will be. I'm just finishing off everything. I'm trying to get them as cheap as possible, because that's, some people say Pallatrax is expensive sometimes, and I can promise you, I try, and I am just like you. I want it to get as best value as possible. So I'm seeing if I can buy larger amounts and then get it even cheaper to pass that all on. But it's really interesting gear. I've never seen anybody using this kind of stuff. Spirulina is something I've used historically and something I'd like to use a lot more. Trouble is with my head, there's so many different bait ideas going on in there, but spirulina is something a little bit special. But these tablets have got other things within them as well, so it's not just pure spirulina. So rich with tutti frutti, it certainly was. Anyway, folks, That's me done. I'm well over an hour. Thanks ever so much for so many of you keeping me company. Hopefully it was of interest. I say, as is normal, I've warbled off and gone all over the place. If you never need to know anything about what I've been chatting, you can always message me. You can always phone me. I think that's one of the things that people do appreciate. You can just pick up the phone. If I can't get back to you then, I will get back to you within 24 hours, and that's a promise. So, yes. Take care, folks. Stay safe. I will be back on the team page next week where we'll be announcing the team exclusive competition and lots happening. Spring's around the corner, so lots of fish will be coming out and about. But yeah, thanks as always for your support, and I will catch up with you in the very, very near future. I'm out of here. Stay safe, folks.